Welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Man mini episodes that I do. I think this is the first of the year. I've got a bit behind, a bit busy as well, and just not been able to get them out. But I thought I'd start off with an interesting one. I just watched the Tinder Swindler, like many people have, and I thought I'd deliver some thoughts about this. This is assuming that you've watched it. So if you haven't watched it, you might want to go and watch it before I talk, because I probably will ruin the whole plot and so forth. But it's pretty wild watching. Me and my partner also, we watched it together as a couple, and obviously as dating coaches, relationship coaches, and people that help people basically do the work to find good, healthy love. It's interesting. I'll give a kind of short synopsis. It's about a man, about three women and a man called Simon Levine, as he goes by, Lviv, I think it is. He's like pretending to be a diamond. He's basically a con man, pretends to be like a diamond king or arms dealer and stuff like that throughout the show. Well, in the show he doesn't pretend he's an arms dealer, but they find that as a later story. And three women. The first one is Cecile, then Penella, and then the last one is Aileen. And basically he swindles out these women, I think upwards of like 200 or 300,000 pounds, dollars, that sort of thing. And he does this all really off his Tinder profile, and by what can seem a bit of a Ponzi scheme, where he will first meet a girl, take her on a lavish date, that'd be 5-star hotel or flying her somewhere in some cases, then being incredibly caring and loving, sincere, creating a good connection, making them feel very special, not just financially, but also sounds like, from speaking and listening and so forth. And then lavishing their lives, but also saying how busy he is. So he has to travel all the time and he's got deals and so forth. And then he starts to get to know them. They, start to fall in love. With the bar one, Penella doesn't. They just stay friends. And he, has a lavish time with them, but there's also really kind of an emotional connection there as well. And then in the end he kind of gets caught and stuff, but I'll get into that probably a bit later on. One of the things I think was interesting about him is like the way he comes across, and I'm really bear in mind that this is a TV show, so they really, they've got their characters and they're playing them in a certain, not playing them because it's a documentary, but they want him to appear a certain way. But the way he comes across is he does come across as a bit of a flash dick, if I'm honest. Like, one of these, a lot of men would look at this guy and go, fuck, I want to be like him. He's got all the labels. Like every time there's a picture of him and a video of him, he's got some sort of Gucci, Louis, Versace, and it's very clear that that's what he's wearing. There's no like subtlety to his clothing. He flies by private jet. He goes to clubs and, lavishes champagne on, table girls, girls who just flock towards tables for free drinks. And he seems somewhat, completely socially, he seems very caring and loving until things start to go badly. And often his ruse is that his enemies are out to get him. He's had to stop using his credit card, and he asks one of the women to get a credit card and then send it to him so he can use. And then he then uses that credit card to spend ridiculous amounts of money. And it's a wild show, right? It's really crazy to watch. And I'm going to start off by saying, I've met men not as drastic as him who, what the impression I get from watching it is it's like he believes his own bullshit. It's almost like he can't let into the fact that he's lying or he doesn't know. Like throughout when he's talking to the women, even when they're like, we know what you're doing, he's just like, no, it's not true. It's like he wants to stay like pure in their eyes in some way. It's quite interesting the way he kind of does that. It's like there's no admitting of guilt. There's no admitting that he's done anything wrong. It's like, oh no, I sent you. One of the women at one point, he gives her a watch to pay her back for the money that he's borrowed, and then the watch is fake when she takes it to get pawned. It's like he's always like, oh no, I don't know what happened, kind of thing. And I've met men before who just don't see the impact of their actions. I wonder if he lies in bed and thinks, fuck, I'm hurting all these people, or he just only sees his own story. He doesn't see anything outside of his own story and what he wants and what he needs, and maybe even the way the world has hurt him in ways. Because I guarantee you, maybe for some people this is probably hard to hear, that there is some pain he experienced in his life, or always continues to experience, that has him believe that he's entitled to act in this way. you know, I always like to look at it from a compassionate point of view, and I don't have a huge amount of compassion for him because I think he's quite cruel and so forth. But I can look and go, it'd be really interesting to really get to the middle of the pain. You know, what was it? His family, or, you know, being poor. I don't know, you know, and maybe people who had money hurt him, and he was like, fuck it, people with money are evil and I can take their money. You know, I don't know. And I get on to the women now. The three women, Aileen, Penella and Cecile. I see how I saw some, like, you know, people kind of blaming them, you know, the comments, the usual stuff, like how could they be so stupid and blah, 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 blah. And I actually disagree. I don't think they're stupid. I think they all appear to be quite smart women. I think initially Cecile, you know, she gets quite wowed by the lavish lifestyle, the lavish dates and so forth, which, you know, I'm sure man or woman, if you've ever been kind of taken to amazing places, you can be quite wowed by that if that's not been your experience. You know, it's not great. You know, it sounds like it's something that really blew her away, but there was definitely a sincerity of looking for love and wanting to find love from all of these women. Obviously, bar Penella, who she doesn't fall in love with him, she just remains friends. So I think, you know, when we victim blame, and I think it's because it makes us feel superior. Like, if I can say, oh, I'd never be so stupid as to give this man like $100,000 and blah, 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 it makes us feel superior. It makes us feel like we could never be those people. And it's kind of a looking down. It's like almost like, it's not just victim blaming. It's like victim kind of beating. It was like beating them down, like, oh, how so stupid are they? To allow yourself to be smug. It's similar to where we kind of want to be won over, like above and below people. So it's like, I need to be better than you, so I'm going to tell you you're stupid kind of thing. And yeah, I have a lot of compassion for these women because, like, I think this could happen to so many people on Tinder and dating apps, men and women. I want to say men and women, because we want love. We want love. Love is the craziest drug around. You know, it will make us do mad things, you know, jump in front of buses and, you know, all sorts of things, steal for people, all sorts, because we love someone, we want to protect them, we want to help them, we care about them. I think sometimes we watch shows like this from a slightly detached place. So, you know, I have huge compassion for these women. I will mention they've got a GoFundMe page if you want to help them pay back their debt. That's, you know, been going for a few days now, or maybe a week or so. And I like, fair play to them, because it's quite harsh, because they're probably not going to, you know, no financial organization is going to help them, because they'll see that they, you know, frauded them or whatever. And actually, I had this conversation also recently. I said, if this was one person, or if this was a bank that was defrauded by these sums of money, I reckon the governments involved would be a lot more hot on finding that person. They don't care, because it's just free women and they're paying the money and they're going to have to, right? Or they'd have to go bankrupt and so forth. So I think it's interesting, that side of things. You look from a kind of governmental policing point of view, because the UK would have a say. You see Holland would have a say, you know, the European, you know, there's some people that could really extradite this guy. And then also, I think I saw some people saying, oh, these women are gold diggers and blah, blah, blah. And again, that doesn't really stand up either, because they all gave him money. If they were gold diggers in the purest sense, they just wanted money, they would have gone, no, I'm not giving you money. You know, you need to give me money. So in that sense, it's like, really, you know, that doesn't really stand up to me. And I want to really acknowledge the strength of all of them for coming forward, but in particular for Penella and Aileen, especially Aileen. The way she comes across at the end for me was pure gangster. The way she knows what he's doing. She's read the article and she's like, you know, give me your clothes. I'll help you sell your clothes. And she takes 3 suitcases of his clothes and then she sells them and keeps pretending that she's going to give him the money. And I think it's really wild, that part, because you start to see the many faces of this man. Like, he's trying all of his arsenal to get the money from her. You know, he sweet talks her, he shouts at her, he's angry at her, he threatens her. You know, he really cycles through these different arsenals of ways that we show up. And, you know, it's really quite smart of her and very brave, to be honest, because to have to face someone who's done that to you and do that is incredible. And, you know, she later ends up helping Interpol catch him, because she knows where he's going to be and what name he's traveling. Or was that Penella? I can't quite remember. Apologies. But it's an amazing show. And, you know, ultimately, he is a pretty cruel character. And it's quite sad in a way that, you know, a lot of men will look at this guy and go, he's the man. you know, because he did this to women, he took advantage of these women, or they'll just believe his story that they're all lying, which, you know, is pretty wild to think 3 women would come together and concoct a story like this and then go public and they'd be on Netflix and so forth. Pretty impossible. So yeah, and then even, you know, the fact that you might say, okay, he's got another girlfriend, how could he still be operating? How would anyone trust him now? You know, I spent some time with a lot of Israelis when I traveled in India and also in South America. And one of the things that quite a few of them did explain to me was the feeling they get kind of indoctrinated with is like a bit of an us against them, the world's against us. So I could really imagine within the country, and, you know, someone might correct me if I'm wrong, this is no slight on Israelis, I know all people are not the same from a single country, but I've been told by numerous Israeli people that there definitely is this feeling that, you know, the Western world's against us, they don't like us and so forth. And he would probably operate perfectly within the bounds of Israel, because everyone would believe that Netflix and, you know, the Western world are trying to take down one of their nationals, and, you know, they're quite nationalistic as a nation. Not all people. Again, I keep reiterating that. But yeah, it's a crazy show. And I think some lessons I guess we can take is, like, I really believe this could happen to a lot of people. I really do. It's like, because we, like I said, love's a strong drug, you know, that's it. You know, it's so interesting to watch. And he comes across as smart, he comes across as witty and caring and loving. You know, he does all the things. You know, he's sending nice messages, he sends flowers, he remembers the small things, he remembers the big things about them. You know, he's really caring about the women. I think that's the one thing. These are all the traits that women want to find in a man, and so many men aren't these things. So when, as a woman, I imagine when you meet a man who's like ticking these boxes, you're like, thank God, yes. A man that cares, a man that remembers the small details, a man that remembers the big details, a man who's checking in how I'm feeling each day, you know, caring about me, supporting me, you know, wanting to move the relationship forward. All of these things, you know, and men, if you listen to this, take a leaf out of this, these are the things, if you're, you know, struggling in dating and so forth, it's like, you know, start to bring these things into your relationships to, like, move your relationship forward into a place you want them to be. So it's a really incredible story, very saddening in many ways as well. And, you know, unfortunately, sometimes it's even funny. And I say unfortunately because, you know, 3 women have been incredibly hurt, plus probably numerous others who you will never hear the names of. Lessons, I guess. One of the lessons I think we must all take, and again, men and women, is like never to be blown away by someone's flash lifestyle. Because I think it's really easy to go on dates with someone and they take you somewhere nice, and you know, not many of us have been flown to a foreign country on a date, but you know, I know of someone, a friend of mine, who met a girl one day and they hung out for a couple of days and they flew off on holiday for a week. You know, it's all well and good to do that, but I'm saying is not to be blown away by the flash gesture and still stay grounded in the person in front of you. Like, who are they? What they being like? And I think even then it wouldn't necessarily guard you against this sort of situation. And I think one of the things that I started to see, especially from the beginning, is this idea that we often fall in love with the story or the vision of the life we'll have with someone instead of falling in love with the person in front of us. You know, I think it's that way in which we can be like, oh my God, what would my life be like with this person in 10 years? And that's what we fall in love with instead of the person in front of us. And I think that's a really important lesson here as well. You know, is just to go, no, I'm going to stay grounded in the relationship where it is and what it's like. I think that's a really, really important thing to note here. And I'm not saying that any of this advice will stop it from happening. Like I said, I think, you know, many of us are susceptible because we're willing to go do what it takes to find love or find great friendship. And, you know, just be, when it comes to money and dating, like, just be ultra careful. I think that's the thing. Like, I will sit here and tell you, I've definitely, you know, I remember years ago dating someone, I lent them some money and then they just went AWOL on me, you know, a few weeks later, never to be seen and heard again, you know. So it's really easy to happen. And I don't really hold any real shame about that because I was doing it from a very much caring place for them and what they were going through. But I just say to be really, you know, when it comes to dating and money, is just be super mindful of, like, you know, with a partner, you're with them for a couple of months, and, you know, they start asking for large amounts of money. It's like, well, this is a bit odd. It's a bit weird. You know, that's not how we normally operate. But, you know, equally, there's times you've probably been with someone and they did need a couple of grand and you help them and they continue to love you and be your friend. So there's no hard and fast rules. So yeah, amazing show. I'm going to drop the GoFundMe link in the show notes because I think it's really important to support people that have been through hard things. Basically, if you want to give some money, if you've seen the show, because I keep coming back to, like, shouldn't Netflix like just drop them a bit of money and look after them and help them get through this kind of thing? Because Netflix have probably made God knows how much, or the production company, or who knows. Like, I just think that there's some of these companies that are making money off people. It's almost, are Netflix almost worse than him? Because they have all the funds and the ability. They could just cover off a lot of their debt. Or you look at some of these debt collection companies and finance companies. They could just wipe the debt and say, you know what, you guys were the victims of fraud, to a certain degree, love fraud, you could call it. But they still choose to chase. So it's a very interesting predicament here, very interesting, and I'm sure it will rumble on way beyond this episode and so forth. But I'll stop now because I've gone over by 6 minutes. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on this. This is slightly unusual. Usually there's advice or ways of thinking, but I'm sure there's a bit of advice in there as well. But I guess that's it for me this week. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want some more interesting bits from me, you can find me on Instagram, and you at @theauthenticman_, or you can get me on email through my website www.theauthenticman.net, and you can send me an email if you want some help with anything or anything like that. But without further ado, I'll let you get on with your day. Ciao, ciao.